Welcome to Statescoop TV. I'm Jake Williams. We're here today with Chris Sullivan. He's a regional sales director at Teradata. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So Chris, we're here at NASCIO Annual. From your perspective, what are the top 3 priorities states should be looking at?
Well, that's a great question. I think that would it would vary by vendor you would speak to. We're, as our name might suggest, we're a company that's focused on data. So I would say, as other folks would say, security. I would say the integration and leverage of data, and probably driving additional data sharing or integration kind of discussions in a state.
That's great. And I mean, what do you think, we've heard over the past 2 days about a lot of the challenges and a lot of the struggles that state governments are going through, but what do you think the most pressing challenge facing state government IT is today, and how should it be addressed?
I think probably the biggest challenge they're going to continue to struggle with is contracting, right? So they're not really set up to do contracts that maybe a commercial organization might do. A commercial organization might look at an outcome-based contract. So if you're an airline, you don't buy a plane, you buy flight hours. How long is that plane in the air? They're not structured to do that. They're structured to buy a number of products and a number of services, and then they stand back and act as an integrator. And that, I think, is something that will have to change for them to really be more nimble. And as they'll talk a lot about delivering agile projects, and along with that, I think their contracting organization is going to have to get more agile.
Interesting. And being a company that focuses on data, what are you seeing across the country with data analytics, and really where do you see it going?
What we're seeing, and it's not necessarily related to state and local, is we're seeing pockets of analytics being built up to deliver a specific function. So I might have part of the organization building out a text analytics function because they want to look at fraud prevention, and so they'll deliver a text function, and then somebody else might be using another tool and doing a predictive modeling technique. So they're building out those functions. Ultimately, that might lead them down the path of building more stovepipe solutions, and the key for them is to build what we would call a multi-genre tool or experience with analytics and be able to do all of those techniques in one pass against the data. So they're in their infancy, and they're working their way up the capabilities matrix.
That's interesting. And what about data storage? I mean, how is the way that states deal with data and storing information changing?
Well, over time, hopefully it will change and they'll store less, right? If you look at what they have lots of information that's duplicative on the citizenry across different programs. So in effect, they're copying the same information or slightly different, and it makes it difficult to answer a question about an individual or a family. But hopefully that will change, and they'll begin to integrate the data, and that will drive down the amount of storage they have to have from a traditional data type. It will continue to grow exponentially as they start to bring in what is called the big data stuff. That will certainly change. But techniques are improving in terms of compression, so I don't see this as a dramatic problem for them. They have they're well suited to handling data storage. So they've got good people on that.
That's great. And last question for you. I mean, across the state government community, who's handling data well, and really what makes that strategy for handling data? What makes it effective?
A lot of the states are doing a lot of great things. So all of them would have something positive to look towards. Where we would point towards a state that's maybe got a leg up on some others would be the state of Michigan. A lot of that has to do with how they're organized. The IT organization owns the budget, they own the people, and they own the apps. So they work with the agencies to build the requirements and then discuss what kind of solution will be built, and then they're often moving. And so that certainly simplifies things in comparison to many other states where the CIO doesn't own all of those things, and it makes it just a slower process. They get it done, but the state of Michigan would have most of the data for all branches of government and even down to some county level data in one repository. So it makes somebody asking a question relatively easy to say, well, is the data in the data warehouse, and getting an answer out of it certainly goes much quicker for them than it does in some other states.
That's fascinating. Well, Chris, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate your input.
All right, thank you for your time.
For more about what companies like Teradata are doing with data in the state and local government information technology community, check out statescoop.com and subscribe to the Daily Scoop newsletter. Again, we're here with Chris Sullivan. He's a regional sales director for Teradata. And I'm Jake Williams. Thanks for watching.